Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jahmyr Gibbs will be turning pro, and I, for the 50th consecutive year, will not be.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Good. A little dreary out in front of Bryant Denny today. It's one of those gray days.
It looks beautiful.
Oh, well, don't let that fool you. I added some color with my fantastic, unbelievable computer skills.
Thank you all for making us your first listen. Welcome to the new year. I guess like January 1st on a Monday, because there's some bowl games. So really, Happy New Year, everybody. Appreciate you guys. I want to thank LinkedIn for being our sponsor. I will talk about LinkedIn here pretty shortly. Jimmy, we postponed the recording of this podcast so that we could watch the press conference of Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And they all very unsurprisingly declared for the NFL draft. More power to them. That's absolutely wonderful. I'm happy for them. I think now, Jimmy, we start talking about where they wind up. And I just took a look at a few mock drafts, and the consensus now is Bryce Young will go number one to the Houston Texans, barring, I don't know that that Houston can lose the number one pick anymore. I think they've sewn that up. So I feel like Bryce Young, barring paralysis by analysis, like we talked about in yesterday's podcast, will be the number one pick. So the question really becomes, where will Will Anderson go? Right. And the mock drafts now, most of them have Seattle picking 3. I'm assuming that's from some kind of pick from the Denver Broncos or whatever. And I can live with that. I don't want it. I never really dig it when Alabama players go all the way out to the West Coast, because even though I have an NFL ticket, I don't hear as much about those teams. It doesn't seem like they get quite as much love out there typically. But Will Anderson in Seattle, I think that's a pretty good matchup. I mean, they typically have good defenses. I think he'd be a good spot for him.
I think Will in Seattle would be a lot of fun. That would be fine. They are good on defense. I do think Pete Carroll, a lot like Saban, in the sense of defense first, highly successful college coach, also the highly successful NFL coach. And Pete Carroll about the same age as Nick Saban, but extremely youthful, similar to Saban in that way. I like it, but I'll tell you the team that I think is going to pick pretty high that I would like to see Will taken by, even though this team has really struggled a lot in recent years, but I think Will would just look so good in the uniform and it's such a good fit. How about Will to the Chicago Bears? The Bears will pick high. He seems like a Bear. He seems like a throwback guy. There's a long history of Bear linebackers, that are just fantastic players over the years. I'm not going to root for Will to go low. I mean, I want Will to be, I want Bryce to go number 1 and Will to go number 2. That's what I would love to see. But in terms of like a team that I would be really excited about choosing Will, the Bears, and of course the Falcons are going to pick fairly high. Kind of like the Falcons being a Southern team. That I would like that. But, we'll have to see about specific draft order and who might be trading up. Is someone going to trade up for a quarterback at the number 2 spot? I assume Stroud is QB2. What we're going to talk a lot about the draft between now and April. But will Anderson be the first defensive player taking the draft? I think so. It's going to be him or Jalen Carter, I assume, the Georgia defensive lineman. So, yeah, I can't wait for that stuff. But, yeah, I think Bryce number 1. I think Will definitely top 5 and maybe top 3. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm interested to see what you have to say about that. I think day 2 for Gibbs, not day 1. I don't think I think the NFL will view him as a third down back and a special teams guy, and those guys generally don't go in the first round. So I'm going to say day 2, not too specific just yet as to round 2 or round 3, but it will be day 2 for Gibbs, and which is great, I think, for a running back, about as good as you can hope for non-freak running backs. And, Gibbs is a third down back. How about sending Gibbs to Philadelphia to play with Jalen Hurts? And I say that not because I think that's a need for the Eagles, but just because he reminds me of Darren Sproles, who played so many of his good years in Philadelphia.
Yeah. In fact, the mock draft on CBS has him going to Philly, which I think is a great landing spot.
Really?
I don't know what their plan
Round
is
1?
In round 1. I'm with you.
I hope so. I hope they're right and I'm wrong. God knows I want him to go in the first round. I'm just like, we always talk about how they don't take backs in the first round. Now they want to take a 188-pound back in the first round. I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Get it, but I love the kid and I love what he did for us. And I do think he's going to be a good NFL player, but I see him as a role player, and they don't take role players in the first round.
Yeah. I guess the only argument for taking him, if you're Philly, is what else are you going to take? I mean, their offensive line is pretty awesome. Yeah, they lost yesterday to the Saints. By the way, they probably don't lose yesterday if they don't throw the flag on a pancake block by Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson just pancaked somebody, and it was such a good block that they threw a holding penalty. And then when they showed the replay, everybody went nuts. Like, that's not a hold. And I think it was pretty universally accepted. It wasn't a hold. It was just, it was such a mauling that they called it a hold, and it just wasn't. And they scored on the play. So, Philly probably would have still won. It doesn't matter. Philly's probably going to win next week, and so they'll get the number 1 seed and all that. Philly's kind of what do you get, the man that's got everything? And that's what Philly is right now. But in the NFL, you can go from having everything to literally having bupkis. So, drafting a running back in the first round simply because you think you're spoiled with riches, I think seems a bit risky. I wouldn't do it.
They should take the best defensive player available. I don't care if it's defensive inside backer, a corner, or safe. Best defensive player available.
Or trade it.
That's how you get good, by the way. I know everyone, when they project the draft, even the first round, they go, ooh, what does Buffalo need? What does Detroit need? What does Chicago need? You want to get rich in the NFL? You take the best player available and you just stockpile. And hey,
and you work it out.
If you end up with too many, you trade. You got trade capital. So you take the best player. If Philadelphia is like, we got everything, what do we need? Take the best player. To me, their offense seems a little more set than their defense. To me, I would just take the best defensive player out there.
Jimmy, let me tell everybody about LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. We use them over at Robinson Iron, use them at Satterfield. I know a lot of folks use LinkedIn Jobs. They absolutely love it. It helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to and helps you do it faster. Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege, LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions may, and I bet they do, apply. I just wanted to say one other thing about Will Anderson. Yeah, I'm with you. I really do. I do hope it ends up 1 and 2, Bryce Young, then Will Anderson. I think the Bears will end up with a number 2 pick, and the Bears are on the come up. Justin Fields, look, he's got a ways to go. He's had a couple of really nice rushing games, and he's shown some arm talent. That frankly, I think the Bears would probably be better off if they were picking like 9th and they could get a receiver like Jordan Addison or something. But I think Will Anderson's going to be too much to pass up. They may fall in love with Jalen Carter, and I get it. Jalen Carter is a freak of nature. But I think Will Anderson, look, I just listened to Will Anderson's farewell speech, and it was the best of the three. It wasn't close. Will Anderson didn't miss anybody to thank, and it wasn't boring, and it was very genuine. And it was Jahmyr Gibbs, God bless him, his was good, but it was short and sweet, and he was just sort of like, I thank you, thank, and Lord Jesus Christ, and I'm declaring for the draft. See you later. Will Anderson and then Bryce Young was almost, man, by the way, when Bryce Young got up there, my first thought was, how is this guy such a badass? I mean, he looks like somebody you might pick on. And instead, he's the best player on whatever team he goes to, anywhere.
Right.
But
Right.
Will Anderson got up there and thanked everybody, talked about how important family was to him, talked about the importance of the coaching he got, talked about the importance of being at the university, talked about how much he loved the university, and then, was like, hey, I'm declaring for the draft, but it doesn't mean I don't love Alabama, essentially, and I don't love, I love everything. I'm a happy dude. I think he is the kind of guy you want on your team. He's a glue guy. But and one more thing about the Jahmyr Gibbs point. I think the only running back I've seen this year that you could make the argument to draft in the first round would be Bijan Robinson, but that's me.
There's other guys that I like, and hey, this people that have listened to our show for years have heard me say this 1,000 times around draft time when we do our draft, because we love the draft and we talk about the draft a ton. The best pick in the draft, or the smartest pick in the draft, or finding gold on day 3 of the draft is a team that smartly on day 3 on Saturday picks an SEC running back. And I don't know which one. I don't care which one. One of them's there will be an SEC running back taken somewhere between rounds 4 and round 7 that will be really good in the NFL. And I'm not saying you're wasting your pick taking a running back early. I don't think that at all. But I'm just saying there will be an SEC back round 4 through 7. I'll throw a couple out. Tank Bigsby, Zach Evans from Ole Miss, guys like that. I mean, you'll probably be able to find them on Saturday. And don't bet against them being a good player, particularly with just about everybody in the league kind of doing it by committee.
What about any of the Georgia guys? I feel like I should know which ones are draft eligible, but
McIntosh has to be a senior. I'm not sure he's
Milton.
Great. Milton's draft eligible for sure. But again, to me, they're day 3 guys. But I mean that as a compliment, because it's just very few running backs go in those first couple of days. I agree with you that Bijan is a first round pick because he is in that freak category. I would take Bijan first round, no question. I think Gibbs is a great second or third round pick because he's going to help your team immediately. He'll be a good dude next. If you need a punt returner and you need a back to throw the ball to, take Gibbs because he will help you next season in those roles. Yeah. In the return game and as a third down back. But around I just don't see a ton of great backs out there, and I think some team that wants running backs, you'll be able to find them on Saturday.
So now we wait with bated breath on some other guys that are draft eligible that, will give an announcement. I mean, I think the one guy that everybody's concerned about is Brian Branch. I think he's gone. You have made allusions to the fact that, hey, he could come back. Certainly he could come back. I don't think he will. And I would love for him to, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he will. And then Eli Ricks. I'm beginning to get the feeling Eli Ricks will come back.
That's exactly right. I think Ricks is coming back. Now, I won't be shocked because September, October, November, I'm like, Ricks is leaving. but no, now I'm firmly settled the other way. My official prediction is Ricks is staying. And I think it's a really smart thing for him to do because I think the guys that make the best decisions, Luke, are guys that can move up. If Ricks comes out now, I'm telling probably a day 3 pick. What junior film does he have that makes him look like someone you want to invest 7 figures in? I mean, what junior film? You can say, yeah, but look at his freshman film. You're not drafting him as a freshman. You're drafting him today. And are you going to take that guy in a position in the draft where you have to invest 7 figures in him? Because you even make a 7-figure investment in second and third round picks over the course of their contract. So look, what I think Ricks by coming back is a guy that can move up. I saw people questioning his speed, and I believe I read this. As a matter of fact, I'm really sure I did. Ricks already ran the 40 for scouts this past year at pro day when they do the junior pro day. That's never on TV, and it's a scouting thing, and it's an under the radar thing. Rick's ran a 4.48. This spring. I don't know where this he can't run stuff comes from, and he's built for the. I'm telling you, Rick's could come back and be a day one pick, and that's why I think he should come. He should come back and become a Saban bot, and you're a first round pick. Now, Brian Branch is. I'm going to allow myself this. I'm only going to be disappointed, Luke, because I'm come out. He didn't come out today. He wasn't there with those guys. I'm sure it's because he wasn't in class, because they're not in class yet. He might not have come back to Tuscaloosa. He might be with his family in Georgia. He might be meeting with agents. He might be thinking it over. He might be finding information. My guess is he comes out and goes to the draft. But the fact there wasn't a fourth chair, the fact he didn't come out today, I'm going to grant myself some hope. I think the right decision for Branch is coming out, but I can make a case that staying is a good decision too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm trying to block this light. So anybody watching on Facebook or YouTube, whatever the social media is this is on, men aren't very good with this stuff, doesn't get blinded by it. One other thing, by the way, if Eli Ricks were to come back, and then Kool-Aid, who, by the way, got much better as the year went along, much better. And then I want to give a shout out to Kool-Aid. We didn't talk about this in the few podcasts we've done since the Sugar Bowl. Kool-Aid did something in the Sugar Bowl that made me think I got hope for the future. Like, you have hope for the future as an Alabama fan regardless, but I was like, I have hope for coming back to the Bama Standard that everybody talks about. On Deuce Vaughn's 88-yard run, Deuce Vaughn takes off. He is 5 foot nothing, 100 pounds, and he can run like a gazelle, and he's hauling it. I mean, he is just running. And we got a couple of dudes chasing, which is pretty typical because they're like, I've got to keep running because if I stop running, the film's going to show it and I'm going to get in trouble. Kool-Aid comes out of nowhere and almost gets him. Now, he doesn't get him. He still scores. It's still an 88-yard touchdown. That was embarrassing. It shouldn't happen. All those things. Deuce Vaughn's a badass. I love Deuce Vaughn. I think he's a great player. But Kool-Aid's effort on that play was the kind of thing that a coach can look at and go, if y'all will do like that every time, even if they score, what can we do? This is all we can ask. All we can ask is for you to give the effort that Kool-Aid gave on that play. So a shout out to Kool-Aid MckInstry. Jimmy, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I want to throw out a few odd and end things. Okay. A few odd and end things, as promised. One of Alabama's early signees in basketball, Cosby, is going to he's going to go ahead and enroll. And so he'll be on the team. He'll be practicing. Now he'll redshirt. I mean, unless barring like everybody getting hurt, he will redshirt. But this is huge. This is a guy that's a scorer. He's a good shooter. And he's going to come in and he's going to be on the bench and he's going to get to feel SEC level excitement and enthusiasm and see what it's like on the road, see what it's like at home, see what it's like at 11 o'clock game when nobody's there, see what it's like at a 7 o'clock game when everybody's there. So he's going to get to see all these different things. And he's not going to play, but he's going to be practicing. And I think this is huge for next year and the continuation of the success that Nate Oates has had. So this is awesome news.
Yes, it's a win-win. Awesome. There's absolutely no drawback to this whatsoever. He can even play if necessary. I think, like Luke alluded to, it would take a string of injuries for that to happen. And I don't think that's why it's happening. He's not coming in to play. He's coming in to learn. And wow, what an advantage it will be. I think as Alabama fans, Luke, we're going to feel good about next year if we feel like this guy's projected to either be a starter or a number 2 guy. A guy getting minutes off the bench because he'll know the system so well and he'll be more comfortable. I mean, this is just win-win. I love it. And we've seen more Alabama basketball players in the future do the same thing. A redshirt year is just not something that happens as much in basketball as it happens in football. There's no reason not to do this. The only reason in the world you can fathom is, well, now you're blowing his redshirt year. Well, I mean, what percentage of players redshirt, particularly a highly recruited kid like him? So no, this is all win-win-win upside, and he gets to start academically. I mean, we need to remember all the time that these kids go to school, and that's a great thing. And we want as many of them to graduate as possible. And now he gets a head start academically, particularly if he stays and goes to some summer school classes too. He'll start his freshman season with a ton of credits in his pocket, very comfortable, knowing his surroundings. It's just all good here.
No, and in fact, this may be the only reason a basketball player ever truly redshirts anymore is if they enter early and they are only there for half a year, because basketball players just aren't going to redshirt anymore. I mean, and if they do, they'd probably just rather transfer. I mean, and again, I'm not saying I'm for that. I'm just saying that's what seems like will probably happen. Now, one other thing that's a little bit off the beaten path I got to throw out there. You always see something on a message board that's like, here's a rumor from blank school. There's a rumor about some stuff that went on at the SEC title game with LSU.
Why did I know you were going there with this? Yeah.
I mean,
I know what you're talking about.
It's kind of bananas. And it's essentially, boy, I mean, I'm trying to keep this as clean as possible.
Good luck.
A sex party. And it involved like administrators or at least people employed by the university, not just players. If it were just players and some willing participants, then I don't know that it's a story. It can't be. I mean, that's private stuff. But if there's a party of this nature that it looks like is sponsored by Brazzers, and there are people that are employed by the university with students at the university, that's a problem. It's like if you are a high school teacher and one of your students happens to be 18 and you're both adults, but there's something wrong with that. That needs to be punished. That needs to be discouraged. But if you're just a regular person and somebody's 18 and you start a relationship and you don't teach them, okay, or you're not related to them, okay, there's not much we can do. But this is getting some legs, literally and figuratively.
I knew you could keep it clean.
I'm just wondering, boy, is there any meat on this bone, Jimmy? I'm sorry. I'm trying not to throw out any cliches, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I hate about this is as far as rumors go, this is now so widespread, and you don't have to go very far. Just if you're one of the few people that don't know what I'm talking about, just Google LSU sex party rumor, and it'll come up, I'm sure. But the thing I hate about it is a little bit like the Brian Harsin thing, with his supposed relationship with an employee over there at Auburn, is I hate it for the girl. If it's true or not, frankly, if it's true or not, I hate it for her because it's reputation destroying for her, which is so unfair in this world that we're in. Like, oh, it's okay for guys to act that way and horrible for girls to act that way. That's something that's wrong with our earth, I think, and our society is these things that the genders aren't judged equally on, and they should be, because it can't be right for one gender and wrong for another. It's just human behavior. I just hate it for her, especially if this isn't true, because gosh, yeah. So I'm not rooting for it to be true. I'm just saying I don't like these stories, and it's just there's just nothing good comes of this at all, true or not. And the player supposedly involved, has declared early for the draft he was supposedly staying. Then he got in trouble, and now he's coming out. Like Luke said, I wouldn't be commenting at all if it didn't appear to very perhaps be true. One thing will be interesting, Luke, is we're recording this at 11:15 on Monday morning, and LSU plays in 45 minutes. Is it going to come up in the broadcast? My guess is no. If
it does come up in the broadcast, I'm going to I'm going to be mad I didn't record it. Because, I mean, that would be something that you'd want to just have on a loop to occasionally laugh when you're having a bad day.
Is it Tessitore and McElroy?
McElroy might bring it up. I mean, he might not be able to resist bringing it up.
I have Greg's number. I think what I'm going to do is, if it is Tessitore and McElroy, I have Greg's number. I think I'm going to text him during the broadcast. Tell him we're awaiting comment on the LSU sex scandal, Greg. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I don't.
I do like the humble brag about you having Greg McElroy's phone number, though.
I'm like the fans that call the quarterbacks, and talk trash to them the night before the game. So
that would be funny if McElroy before the broadcast, they show him in the booth and he's like, "Hey, Jimmy Stein," he does a little phone.
I got a number from Florida fans who were spreading it around the night before the 09 championship game.
Surely he's changed it. Anyway, all right, buddy. That's good.
Well, the only time I ever text him is to say, "Hey, do you have a comment on this particular sex scandal?"
All right, buddy. That's going to do it for this podcast. We will get with you guys tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the bowl games. Happy New Year again, everybody. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.